So, shall we? You ready?
Yes, let's.
You don't want to light a candle and put a crucifix up or anything, no?
I was thinking
Sure
about
you're gonna be
sage
all
in the
right?
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Roads? When we're going, we don't need roads. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
I'm Spartacus!
I'm Batman. I am the Father.
Mary, what have you been watching?
So, in news that will surprise no one, I finally tracked down the Riefenstahl documentary that I've been wanting to
Oh,
watch
right.
for
Yeah.
quite a while. It's on Prime, and it was really, really fascinating. I think that there's clearly some cognitive dissonance going on in her behalf, because there was interviews with her as an older woman and she was like, oh, I knew nothing, I barely met them, I never knew them, cut to a clip of her at like Hitler's house having tea sort of thing. And she was quite vilified in the German like press and TV and media sort of after the fact, and they showed you like debates that she had on television with ordinary German people and things like that. So it was quite an interesting documentary in the sense that it wasn't necessarily focused on her as a director, although it did show her work sort of prior to the Nazis coming to power. And she obviously did have, craftsmanship there, and she was exciting and new, and obviously a female director as well. But the more interesting part really is her as an old woman trying to sort of explain away her relationship with, the Nazi party at the time. So that definitely was a really good watch. And as I say, it is on Prime. I think it's to rent, but worth seeking out if you like that sort of thing.
So was it sort of like,
sorry.
I was younger.
Yeah,
definitely.
Definitely. Like, she talked about not having anything to do with politics, just being interested in making films. And it's like, you can't, at that point in time, you could never have extricated the two. Like, they were so, indelibly linked that, it was strange though, because what was actually more interesting was sort of after the fact, and you're talking maybe like, I want to say like the 70s or 80s in Germany, she was still getting phone calls and fan mail from people who thought she was on the right side, essentially.
Quite far to the right side.
Yeah, way on the right side. But that was quite interesting as well, that obviously that sentiment still existed within the country, decades after everything had been exposed for what it was. So I think it's Dogwoof Films. I'm sure it was them that did it. They make quite a lot of good documentaries and stuff like that, which is obviously a very conflicting within herself and a very conflicting person to actually watch and listen to. So yeah, definitely worth seeking that out. I also watched Threads because it's on BBC iPlayer, and I had never seen it before. Oh my God. How utterly, utterly bleak. I can only hope if that ever happens in the UK that I am one of the first to go, because I am not surviving behind a damp mattress eating dust for days. Like, that's just not happening. And of course, there was loads of close-ups of like dead wee cats and dogs, and it was just absolutely grim. I've never seen it. I've no idea why it's on iPlayer just now. It feels a bit doom-mongering to have that on at the moment. But yeah, I thought it was one of those films that, because everyone talks about it in such high terms, I wanted to sort of just watch it and see for myself. But yeah, don't watch it if you're having a bit of a down day, because it's very, very grim. I also watched a few wee horrors. So I watched Jennifer's Body, which I had to rewatch because it was on Vampire Videos. Weapons, obviously saw at the cinema, and Together, which I saw at the cinema as well, which honestly really balances horror and comedy so well. I was really surprised by how much I actually enjoyed it. The only thing is, it's got that Damon Herriman in it, who I'm still really scared of because of the Nightingale. So every time he appears in films, I'm just like, I know you're going to be a bad guy. I don't care who you're meant to be at this moment in time. I know you're going to turn out to be a bad character. So that was a good rewatch as well. I've been watching quite a lot of TV. So one of the first things I will highly, highly recommend is a documentary on Netflix called Unknown Number, The High School Catfish. And it's about a young girl, she's like 12 or 13, and she one day out of the blue starts receiving these really horrible, gratuitous text messages from an anonymous number. And then her boyfriend starts receiving them, and it's a very small town in Michigan. It becomes the talk of the town, and these texts go on for about 24 months. And that's all I will say, but I was shouting at my telly. It was a brilliant, brilliant watch. So if you've got Netflix, definitely have a wee look at that. I also watched a couple of seasons of Below Deck and Below Deck Down Under because I have no life. and I've been rewatching all of the Stacey Dooley sleepovers. So there's I think there's 6 seasons of them. So I've started making my way through them again because I quite like them. I watched the one she did with the girl Lily Phillips, who's the sort of equivalent of Bonnie Blue, I suppose you would say. But that was really eye-opening because that girl's parents are distraught at her life choices, and they're basically saying it's ruined their life as well. So that, and she sort of broke down at that as well. So that was an interesting rewatch. And I also had a little preview of Diary of a Ditched Girl, which is coming to Netflix on September the 11th. It's a Swedish TV series. It is absolutely joyous. If you're in your mid-30s and you've experienced the bleakness of the dating pool, this is so funny, so clever. The dialogue is really razor sharp and genuinely relatable. And it's just a good wee binge watch. Each episode's only half an hour, so you'll absolutely fly through it. But yeah, I've watched a lot more than that, but I thought that they're the kind of biggies that I've taken on in the past week or so.
Nice. It's pretty good. Good wee list there for lots of horror, which is showing how brave you're getting these days.
It's becoming a habit. I know. I'm still not sleeping, and it makes me feel I honestly wish I should wear one of those things that measures your pulse and your heart rate while you're watching a film like that, because mine must be absolutely through the roof.
For myself, I've had a couple of press days that have been pretty full on this week. Actually, 4 films each day. Conjuring being nice. One of them, so we'll talk about that later. But I saw a film called On Swift Horses, which is a late 1950s set drama about a husband and wife and the husband's brother, and it's all about their sort of hopes and dreams moving to moving to California and trying to create a new life after I think it's the Korean War, and it's pretty decent wee film, and it's very, very nicely set. It's Jacob Elordi, who obviously is going to be the new
Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, so he's leading up that film, and it's
also
one of these
in the new Wuthering Heights, which is getting destroyed on the internet for basically turning. Well, obviously Heathcliff is meant to be a person of color for starters, so there's that.
I was unaware of that. I didn't know because.
Oh, did you not know that?
No, was it not Laurence Olivier? Did he not play him at one point?
Yeah, just with a heavy dose of tan on the old face. But having said that, though, I have watched, was it Tom Hardy I saw in Wuthering Heights actually as well? Also not a person of color, but no, in the book, because it's a story obviously about class division, but there's also the whole racial element to it as well. And there's quite a controversy around his casting because he is definitely not. People wanted Dev Patel, for example, to play Heathcliff.
I suppose so, yeah. Well, there's still plenty of time, isn't there? Let's face it.
Sure.
There'll be another version of these films, and books and stuff tend to come around and around and around. They just keep doing them, which is fine. There's obviously an audience for it. So as well as Jacob Elordi, there's Daisy Edgar Jones and Will Poulter in this film. So some very nice people, and some. It's very, very good, and it's the fact that Jacob Elordi plays a guy called Julius who is conflicted about his sexuality and everything, and it's the struggles that people had back then in terms of finding their tribes and everything, and the problems that came up from it and all that. So it was actually a pretty decent watch. I was quite entertained by it. I saw the Spinal Tap, The End Continues, which is pretty decent. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of sort of callbacks to the original film, and there's a few sort of cameo appearances. Elton John's in it, and Paul McCartney is in it as well. Wow. Yeah, and they both sing Spinal Tap songs, which I don't know if you're familiar with the Spinal Tap songs. They are quite full on, quite dirty. I mean, you're talking about torpedoes and things like this. It's very sort of caricature of heavy metal music. And it's just, their last album was called Sniff the Glove, which is just evokes all sorts of imagery, and it had to be completely black, but it couldn't just be black. It had to be deep black. It's just the sort of thing, one of the wee gags that ran through the original film. And basically now the 3 guys who are the sort of core of the band are playing a sort of one-off reunion gig. And they're all doddery old men now. That's part of the joke as well, because they've all still got really long hair and wearing sort of band t-shirts and stuff, but they're just old guys, and one of them has a glue museum and things like this. So it's just stupid. It really is, and it's quite funny. I enjoyed it. It fits in quite nicely with the first film, but I think people might be a wee bit disappointed with it in that it's not like a full out sort of Naked Gun style, you know, a gag every like 30 seconds or everything. So, but yeah, it was good fun, and there's a lot of good characters been added to it and all this, and it's all just the whole thing about getting a band back together for one more performance and everything, and the fact that they don't get on and everything. So yeah, I enjoyed that. That was pretty good as well. Swiveling away from that, I saw a documentary called From Ground Zero, Stories from Gaza, which is 22 short films made by people who are living in Gaza at the moment.
Wow.
And it's all sorts of aspects of their life. It's not just, you know, this is horrible, everybody get killed. There are a number of them that are like that, people missing under rubble and stuff. But there's also ones that are full of hope, people trying to bring communities together through music and like literature and all this sort of stuff. And it does work as a piece because they're only short things. They're only like 3-4 minutes long, so you're only getting a wee snapshot.
Right,
You're just getting a wee introduction to basically each of them, and it gives you a sort of full flavour. As in, this isn't all that's just happening. This is all of it. You know, there's so much happening. They could have probably told another 100 stories, and it would all be different again. So yeah, it's not an easy watch. It definitely isn't. It's quite harrowing at times, and obviously death is just around the corner everywhere you go. Just about everybody talks about, yes, when my family died, or my neighbours and everything, and there's people going back to their homes and all that they had, and places in ruins. So yeah, it was good. It's obviously going to have a limited audience. It's actually going to see us, because it's not going to be in the likes of your Cineworlds and your Odeons, I don't think. So you're talking about more your art house cinemas. It's going to show this sort of stuff, which again is okay. I saw a film called The Cut, which is ostensibly it's a boxing drama, but it's not really a boxing drama.
Oh, is this the one with Amir El Masri, who was in Limbo? No.
Nope. This is Orlando Bloom and Catriona Balfe.
Oh, right. Okay. No, I've not heard of this at all then.
I hadn't heard of it. It was, I think it sort of did the circuits last year. And it's a fairly straightforward start to it. There's a boxing match that's happening in Las Vegas. One of the guys, one of them dies about a week and a half before the boxing match. It was like sort of natural causes, so they say, but you don't really know. The promoter goes to this Irish boxer who was a contender at one point. You see the very opening scene, you see him fighting for the title and losing it because he just kind of loses his concentration for just a couple of seconds, and it's something that kind of flashes through his mind, and you don't know what that is, but you get to see it later on. But they go to him and say, we want you to step in because you're a name. It'll be, there's a whole comeback angle and all this sort of stuff, and the rest of the film is him trying to reach the weight that he needs to get to for this fight, because he's about, I think he's about 25-30 pounds overweight, and he's still pretty skinny. I mean, you're talking about like 185 pounds down to 154, I think it is. And what I expected from the film was it was going to be this film where you would have, getting him ready for the fight and then the fight itself. No. This is all about losing the weight for the fight and the struggle that it has. And it starts off, they're doing lots of exercising and all this sort of stuff, but then they introduce drugs and introduce baths and steams, and it becomes a bit of a body horror film as well. And you don't really know what's going on, because you are kind of front and center with the boxer character. He doesn't have a name, he's just called Boxer. And as he progresses through this weight loss, his mind starts to go a wee bit, because you're not fully functional. You're just trying to get through this process. So you're kind of seeing what he's seeing, and he's hallucinating, he's remembering his mum and all this sort of stuff. And it is a wee bit kind of like body horror-ish in a way, and it was a real surprise.
That sounds interesting.
It was actually pretty decent. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very, very good performance by Orlando Bloom, because he was in that comedy a couple of months ago as well about the improv actors it's Sean Bean's a policeman who puts them undercover to try and like get
Mhm.
into a drug gang, and it's this comedy thing. It was him and Nick Mohammed, and I was really good, and Orlando Bloom was really good in it as this sort of totally very serious actor guy and all this. And here he's the boxer, and he's good in that as well. I was really kind of surprised because it's him all the time that's on screen, so that was really good.
Wow.
I did really enjoy it. I thought, yeah, and I, like the same as you, I hadn't seen it at all. I just didn't know
Yeah, I've
anything
never
about
even
it. I'd
heard
seen no
of that at
trailers or
all.
anything. Yeah, because there's another film called The Cut as well. It's coming out towards the end of the year, and I thought it might have been that. That was a Sydney Sweeney boxing
Yeah,
drama.
and is there not a Meg Ryan
No,
boxing
sorry.
film called The Cut as well?
It's called In the Cut. No, the Sydney Sweeney
In
one's
the
called
Cut.
Christie. That's another film. So anyway, so yeah, that was decent. On day 2, I saw Downton Abbey. The saga finally finishes, or
Did
whatever
it make
it's
you
called.
feel right at home? Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. It's one of the whole series and the films are basically there's problems come up and they solve them.
Yeah.
But they don't do it
and the
properly
upstairs
because
folk aren't really arseholes to the downstairs folk. It's, we all work together as a community. That's
yes, but everything seems to be a lack of communication. That's where all the problems happen. Basically, this film could have been sorted out in about 10 minutes. That's and just have an hour and a half of sort of nice views from Downton Abbey and like central London in the 1930s and things like that. But it was okay because there was this the central sort of story around it. It's all about the next generation moving forward. Like Downton is going to be passing from one generation to the next, but he doesn't want to let it go. He doesn't, the guy in charge doesn't want to let it go. He wants to kind of, is he ready to step back and all that? So there's all that. There's a scandal about his daughter getting divorced, and divorce is something you don't do. You can't be in the same room as a princess and all this sort of stuff if you're a divorced woman. So just nonsense. And they were having money troubles as well, so they were relying on the funds from, I think it was the matriarch's death, so her estate, but somebody else had been looking after it, and had been sort of money had been lost and all that. And they dragged this story out for about 3/4 of the film, and it was just a case of all the money's gone, and the question that probably came to every single person's mind was, where did the money go? And why is there this strange American guy here? It was Alexandra Nivolo.
Oh, yes.
Being kind of creepyish, which is kind of very good at it. But if they'd said to him, where did the money go? And then went and spoke to all their high society pals who have got links both sides of the Atlantic, then they would have found out in 10 minutes, and you're going, you didn't need to drag us out. But yeah, anyway, it is what it is.
Is Maggie Smith in it, or have they just obviously because she's passed away, so is her character not in it anymore?
Her character died in the previous film, at the end of the previous film.
Oh, right? Okay, I didn't know that. I haven't seen any of the
films.
And
then obviously died in real life as well. Yeah. But there's a scene at the very end of the film which is kind of marking the fact that this is all over for the current body of people. There's loads of them, and it's like, and they have this wee bit at the end, and it's some of the characters from the TV show come back and like, who's it? Dan? Oh, what's his name?
Oh, Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens. He comes back because apparently I hadn't watched the TV show, but apparently he died in a car crash after about
in the first season, I think it was.
Yeah, or something like that. So there was a wee bit of him, and there was a wee bit of, it was like a dinner party scene, and in the background you saw the Maggie Smith character. But I don't know what they did. She looked bloody awful in it. I don't know if it was CG'd or whatever, but it just did not look good at all. There was a few
like Uncanny Valley type of
a wee bit, yes. I don't know if they'd taken existing footage and then sort of made it so that she looked a wee bit older or something, but it just didn't work. And some of the CG in the film was a little bit ropey as well, because it's all very nice when you're doing like buildings and stuff, but there was one where they're at the races, and they obviously didn't have the money to hire a massive crowd and hire race horses for the racing scenes. So the horses, when they're moving, especially at the very end, they look a bit weird and they look a wee bit fast. So
part of me is like, if you can't afford to do a racing scene. Why are you doing a racing scene? Do it somewhere else and have them play cricket or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, do something that doesn't involve animals or whatever.
And there's a wee bit, obviously it shows the crowd scene at the races as well. And they've obviously just patched in lots of fake crowd, and they're all moving, and it's quite far away. So all you see is just all these wee bits of movement, but it's like every single person is moving. Obviously, the director said, make it animated, make it so they're enjoying themselves, and everybody's kind of swaying, and you're going, don't know. You know,
that's not what crowds look like.
Doesn't look quite right, funny. You know. So, so I know. After that, I saw a film called Christie, which was at the Glasgow Film Festival, I believe, earlier this year, because a couple of people that was in the screen. Yeah, it's about a young guy called Christie who lives in Cork, and he's in and out of foster homes, and his half-brother takes him in. And he's now been through the whole care system. He has a wife and like a wee baby, and he says, no, I'm going to take Christie in for a couple of weeks because he's struggling. Apparently, when Christie was younger, he was involved in a fight with another boy, and he basically battered him senseless. And it was recorded. You know how it is, people record these things when people are fighting, and it went viral, and he had like 38 million hits or something. You know, so he had this reputation which he didn't want or really deserve, because obviously he was a troubled wee boy. You know, so it's him trying to sort himself out before he's 18, and it's going back to where he used to live and living with his brother, and like his cousins were all around, and his mother used to hang about with his cousins, and she died due to like a drug overdose and all sorts of stuff. So it's a wee bit grim, but it's quite a sort of low-key family drama, if you like, and it works really well, and there's a wee bit of tension in it, some very good performances, and from people I've never seen or heard of before. So yeah, it was decent. It was something, again, I'd never heard of at all. So, yeah, it was all right. I must
have missed that at the film festival. I did see Spilt Milk, which is the Irish one set during the recession in the 80s, about the wee boy that thinks he's Telly Savalas, and he thinks he's searching for his missing brother, but obviously it's about like sort of drugs and crime that had overtaken Dublin at that point, and he obviously is too young just to realise that. But that was the only Irish one that I picked up at the festival, I think.
Yeah, well, I didn't know about it at all. I hadn't heard. Obviously, I didn't really do very much at the festival at all. So, but yes, you know, a few people had said, yeah, this is fairly decent, but they'd seen it before, so it was all right. The last film from the press day was The Long Walk, the Francis Lawrence film. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good indeed. I was a wee bit apprehensive because the whole film is basically the long walk. It's people walking, and you're kind of thinking, will this kind of translate to the screen? It translates quite well, or it works really well in book form, because there's a lot of internal monologuing and things like that going on. But this was a bunch of guys talking to each other while they were walking, so it was a wee bit apprehensive about it, but it works really well. I mean, Cooper Hoffman is one of the main characters in it, Philip Seymour's son, and David Johnson, who we saw in Alien Romulus.
Yes, we did. He was so good in that,
and he's completely different here. You know, spot on Southern American accent here. He's really good at what he's doing here as well, and they're the two main characters, but there's a sort of gang of four, and you've got basically the whole premise behind the film is there's been a war, some sort of a civil war, I think, in the States, and this is one of the things that's been done to try and bring people back together, a sense of community. It's like one person from each state goes into the long walk, and from there they are basically representing the States, but it's never really, they're not wearing like t-shirts that says Idaho or anything. So basically they have to walk and not stop at all, and it's winner takes all, the last person walking. And if you stop, you get a couple of warnings, but if you don't heed those warnings, you get eliminated, and eliminated means shot in the head. So and if you run away, you get shot. If you go off the road, you get shot. So yes, and the guy in charge of it's a guy called the Major, who's been there from day one. That's Mark Hamill that plays that, and he's basically shouting at them and all that. So yeah, it was really good. So it was basically all the interactions between these guys who'd never met before, and they all started forming bonds and started working with each other, even though they knew that eventually they would be getting to the stage where they'd be competing against each other. And there's some sort of psychological stuff going on. Like some guys realize that there are weaker ones amongst them, so they start picking on them and saying things about them in order to get them to react. And in reacting, what happens is they do something silly and basically get themselves in trouble. And I never thought that I would be so tense by seeing a sign that says hill ahead, because they were just walking and it's like the middle of the night and it's raining, and then suddenly there's this big incline and they're going, oh shit, because like at that point they're all quite tired and they've been going for 2 days and all that. And even just the logistics of, what do you do bodily function wise if you're walking, if you've only got like 30 seconds, that kind of thing. So, and it's all about putting the body through extremes and all this, and something pushing past the point where it hurts and just accepting the pain and all that. I should put that on a t-shirt. Accept the pain. It's you growing or something.
You could be a motivational speaker, like one of those crazy Americans that do like scam conferences. That could be your sort of like tagline or whatever. You preach to them.
For the last two films I'm going to mention, it's all to do with leaders of the free world. The first one was Heads of State, which is John Cena and Idris Elba as the US President and the UK Prime Minister, who get in a situation where terrorists are trying to kill them and they're basically out on their own in the middle of
I was going to say, I feel
Eastern
like
Europe.
that's two heads of state that could absolutely handle themselves if anything.
Yes. It's a comedy action film, and it's contrived in such a way that the two of them are there on their own. So it does work, and there's quite a good chemistry between them as well. And it's quite enjoyable. That's on Prime, that one. It's been on there for maybe about a month and a half. And it's okay. If you're looking for something that's quite light, then yeah, watch that. There's quite a high death count, obviously, because all the people around them and everything tend to, obviously, because they have to contrive a way to get rid of all their retinue, their bodyguards and everything. So they all have to kind of be gone as well. Right. So yes, that's quite good. And obviously there's all sorts of political machinations as well, because how did people get access to the president and the prime minister? And they actually address the fact that they're called heads of state, but the UK prime minister isn't the head of state because that's the king. And they do actually say that at one point. They point that out, which is quite good as well. And John Cena, his American president, is this former actor. He's an action star, sort of an Arnie type action star as well. And he's only been in the job for 6 months, but he's surprisingly good at it, and he's got a sort of a nice human touch to him and everything as well. But it was a pretty decent film. The counter side to that, my God, it's a film called Rumours. I don't know if you've seen this Cate Blanchett film. It's about the G7 leaders meeting in Germany for a meeting, and they're drafting up this statement about the latest crisis. They didn't mention what the crisis is, and they're at this massive big estate in sort of countryside in Germany, and then all of the staff and people all disappear, and they don't know what's going on. And they'd been there for a couple of days, and they'd been in and around, and they were touring the sort of estate, and there was archaeologists there, and they'd found these bodies that had been there for 1,000 years and sort of preserved in the mud, if you like, and you kind of see these, but then it looks as if these things have come back to life, and there's nobody else around. It's like everybody else is away, and they are wandering about in the woods, and stuff happens to them, and it's just like it was totally like off the wall. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was just mental. It was crazy.
Was Cate Blanchett short of a mortgage payment or something?
I don't know.
That sounds absolutely shit.
She was the German chancellor in the film, so she was doing the very, very best clipped German accent. The
Oh
American,
no.
you know, it was just very, very strange. Really, really strange film. I couldn't kind of get into it all. And at the end of it, I just kind of looked at Leslie. We were just looking for something to watch. So it's
Yeah.
on Sky Cinema,
Right.
the on-demand service in Sky Cinema. So I'm assuming it's through that you can get it now as well. You
Yeah.
know, the cinema package and that. And I thought, oh yeah, I've heard about that. I you know, without really reading into it, and watched it, and I just thought, what the actual fuck is this? Unbelievable.
Do me a favour though. See if you do watch that Unknown Number, which I say highly recommend. Everyone's filming their partner. If you've seen it, you're filming your partner reacting to the big twist. So do that with Leslie. See what she thinks.
Nice. TV wise, watching Alien Earth, like we mentioned before, which is good. Enjoying that quite immensely. I've only watched 2 episodes of it so far. I'm trying not to binge all of the available episodes because I want to kind of think about what's going on. It's not that deep, let's face it. It's an alien TV show. So. But it's good cast and quite a good premise in it as well. So yeah, I definitely want to watch when you get around to that one. I'm watching Atomic, which is on Sky. It's Alfie Allen.
I've seen posters for this. Yeah.
2 guys steal uranium that's being transported to be sold to like bad actors, a third party who wants to make a bomb, and he's basically stolen this uranium in 2 big bags because it's really heavy stuff and it has to be kept 2 meters apart at all times and all that. So I've watched a couple of episodes of that. It's actually surprisingly funny. There's a lot of nice wee touches of humor. It's not particularly original in any way, but it's all right. It's fairly decent. And I've been continuing to watch the Black Mirror episodes as well. I think I'm around about season 3, season 4 on that. So it's into the start of the Netflix era. I really enjoyed all the early ones when I watched them. They were very good. But yes, I did enjoy that as well. I'm also doing a rewatch of Andor because Leslie wanted to watch it. So somebody had recommended it and she says, what's this program? Or like and/or. And says, no. It's not that. And it says it's a Star Wars TV show, but it's not really a Star Wars TV show. It's
the Star Wars TV show.
Yes.
It's so good. Yeah.
It says there's no, you know, use of lightsabers and shit like that in there. It's very sort of, it's different type, and it's more of a political drama, you know, rather than there's wee bits of action, but not much. But yes, very good. So I'm starting watching that from the beginning again. So that will be.
So you are starting season 1 again, then?
Yes, I haven't seen season 2 yet, so I'm going to start season 1 and watch it through, and then just continue on to season 2. So that's pretty decent as well. And I also started a drama on what was it, Prime, called Butterfly, which is based on a graphic novel. It's about a guy who has to find his daughter who is an assassin, and he's an assassin. And it works really well. It's good. It's just, again, fairly light, lots of deaths, lots of martial arts, and it looks good. There's lots of stupid dialogue in it, so it's something you don't need to watch and really take too seriously as well. So in addition to that, I got a hold of a copy of that book that you mentioned last week.
Oh, Pandora's Box.
Yes. So I've bought myself a copy of that, so I'm going to start on that. I didn't realise it was the same author who did Easy Riders and Raging Bulls as well, which is a very good book. I read that years ago, and there's a documentary version of that as well, which is good, and it's basically all just talking heads as well. I think I have another one called Down and Dirty Pictures, which I haven't actually read yet, but it's the same author, and it's all got to do with sort of 90s cinema and stuff like that as well.
Oh, that sounds good. I might pick that up myself, actually.
Yeah. So, yes, I haven't actually started the book yet, but I did get it on your recommendation just to show that I am actually listening to what you say more than anything else.
Well, let me know what you think of it. As I say, from the perspective of as people who watch a lot of film and TV, the changes in how we consume, I think, is the most evident thing for me in that book. So I'm just interested in that sense.
Yes, yeah, definitely, absolutely. So that's it as far as I'm concerned. I could have gone on for I could have gone on for. I had another whole list of films that I'd watched in the previous sort of week, but as I say, they will keep